Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Bookshelf. As you can tell from the title, this is the mid-year book freakout tag, and this is going to be for obviously 2019. This tag was originally created by Chammy and Ellie, but I don't think they have done any like updates or anything for the past few years. So before I get into the actual prompts and everything that I chose for that, I will let you guys know that for the first half of the year, which I'm counting from January through the end of June, I read a total of 119 books, which I think is kind of crazy. That's almost the total amount of books that I read last year. I think last year I read 130 something books, so almost that much in the first half of the year. I honestly can't believe it. I initially only set my goal at like 60 books, I think, but because I have been working so much like at my full-time job, I haven't really had time to do any of the things that I've been wanting to do, like goals that I set at the beginning of the year. So I've been getting a lot more reading done. That's pretty much been my main source of entertainment, except a few times where I'm just like, okay, I don't really feel like reading. But yeah, so I think because of that, I'm going to do two parts to all the books that I read in the year. Last year, or I guess maybe at the beginning of this year, I posted, one long video with all the books plus ratings of the books that I read in 2018. But I think this year I'm going to be doing a part one and have all 119 books in that video, and then at the end of the year or the beginning of next year I will do the second part. But like I mentioned, this is the mid-year book freakout tag. There are 13 questions. Now I did pull the questions from someone's video. If anything isn't right or if anything's missing or added, just know that I did pull them from someone else's video that posted this year, so that's why. The first prompt is the best book you've read so far in 2019, and I decided to go with the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I feel like this is a well-rounded book that has so many different elements to it. The main focus is dealing with a 17-year-old teen mom, and she is struggling with how to best provide for her 3-year-old daughter while also trying to figure out if it's worth it to pursue her dreams of becoming a chef. However, there are a lot more elements that are included within the story, and I think that a lot of people will enjoy this. Not saying that this is going to be something for everybody, but I absolutely love this and I cannot wait to reread it, annotate it, and like tab it up because I loved it that much. Moving on to number 2, which was the best sequel you've read so far this year. And I could not pick just one. I actually have 3. The first one is Nixie Unleashed by Scott Rankin. I believe I actually put the second book back on my shelf, forgetting that I meant to talk about it in this video, but that is The Wicked King by Holly Black. Probably just throw the cover up on the screen. And the final one that I have to talk about in my best sequels I've read so far this year, and the only reason I mention all 3 of these is because each of them are different. Like each of them have different elements, so it's hard to compare them against each other. But if you're going strictly based off of ratings, this is my highest rated sequel of the year, which is Etched in Bone by Anne Bishop. This is actually the finale to the other series, and I think this was just so well done. If you guys don't remember me talking about this in a wrap up, this book gave me so many strong emotions, and I think that says a lot about an author who makes you really get so invested in the story that you are feeling the same emotions that the characters are feeling within the story, and I think this did exactly that. Number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and once again I have a few books that I have for this one, and these will show back up again towards the end of this tag. But the first one that I have is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. Next I have The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. Got this in my January Outcrate box and still haven't read this. I started it, but did not get very far. Another one that came in an Outcrate box, which is a more recent one, but I've had it for a few months now, still haven't read it, is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. And then the final book that's in the release that I still haven't gotten to yet, which is a beast of a book, which is mainly why I haven't gotten to it, is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Moving on to number 4, which is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I decided to cut it down to 3, and this is over 3 different categories, I believe. So for a fantasy, YA fantasy, I have Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. I just finished reading The Wicked King and I loved it. Talked about that a couple questions ago, and I just really want to know how this trilogy is going to end, so I need that. The next one I believe is a YA sci-fi, which is Slay by Brittany Morris. I hope that's her last name, but I will have the cover up on the screen so you guys can check that out. This sounds like it's going to be amazing, and I love sci-fi, and the fact that this is centered around a black character who created this game and has to deal with things that's going on within that. I'm just really excited to see how all of that plays out. And then finally I have Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, which is an adult romance, contemporary romance. Number 5 is Biggest Disappointment, and I did struggle a little bit about what exactly to pick for this because I did have a few, but I decided to go with the one that I was most excited for but I was kind of let down by, and that one was Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Number 6 is Biggest Surprise, and for this one I have 2 answers. The first one I'm gonna go with is There's Something About Sweetie by Sandhya Menon. I picked this up not really knowing what to expect from it. I had heard a lot of good things about the authors and the book she has put out so far, or at least for When Dimple Met Rishi. I know a lot of people love that. I really haven't heard too many things about From Twinkle with Love, but I decided to pick this one up and I fell in love with the writing and the way she had these characters come together and their interactions and their romance. I just absolutely loved everything that well, not everything, but I loved what she did with this, and I was pleasantly surprised, and now I'm like, I need to pick up anything else that she ever writes. And the other one that I have to say is So Sweet by Rebecca Weatherspoon. So I think I am starting to realize that I enjoy reading age gap romance with an older man. I used to think that I was always that person. I was just like, that is not the thing for me at all. But this was, I believe, the second book that I read that dealt with this situation. I absolutely was shocked by this. It wasn't perfect, and I was like really even more surprised because this was a novella, and I fell in love with the characters, and I was just like, I really wanted to know more about them and see how everything progressed between the two of them. Number 7 is your favorite new author. I'm gonna say Rebecca Weatherspoon. I read a few of her books so far. Based off of those, I really enjoyed what I had read, and I'm definitely interested in reading more from her. Number 8 is Newest Fictional Crush, and for this one we're going back to Rebecca Weatherspoon, and I'm going to say Rafe from her book Rafe. I had a hard time coming up with this. I feel like I have grown out of that stage of like truly crushing on a character. Like when I read, I have my swoony moments, but I also feel like I like the characters because they fit so well with the person that they end up with in whatever book it is. But Rafe was one of those characters that I feel like if I had met him in person and he was the same way that he was with the main character with me, I would love him, and that would be amazing. So that's why I decided to go with him for my fictional crush. Number 9 is Newest Favorite Character, and we're gonna go back to There's Something About Sweetie, and I'm gonna say that Sweetie is my favorite character. I appreciated that she was so positive with her appearance, and the only time that she really doubted or kind of took a step back was when it came to her mother, but then she eventually worked up the courage herself to let her mother know, like, hey, I'm happy with how I am. I know that she even told her, she's like, I know that you're embarrassed with how I look, but I'm okay with it and it's fine. And she realized that things weren't exactly how she thought they were, but I just appreciated her positivity and her openness and willing to give people a chance no matter what the circumstances. Number 10 is Book That Made You Cry. For this one, I decided to go with Loving Mr. Daniels by Brittany C. Cherry. This book had me crying several times while reading, and I was shocked because I was not expecting to, like, I went into this like, okay, this is going to be a romance, and it's going to be a forbidden romance between a teacher and a student. And it turned into, like, it ended up being so much more than that. And like I said, multiple times throughout the book I was crying, and yeah, like actual tears coming down. Like I had to take a break, and luckily I was reading the audiobook, so I kind of just let it play while I was just bawling a couple times. So yeah, definitely made me cry. Number 11 is Book That Made You Happy. And for this one, I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit. I know I probably had other books that I could have mentioned, but I decided to pick one that I read early July just because I feel like this was the one that made me the happiest of, or at least the one that was fresh in my mind, and that is Can't Escape Love by Alyssa Cole. This is one of the novellas for the Reluctant Royal series. This book was just, it was like the ray of sunshine at the beginning of July for me. I loved it so much, and I kind of want to reread it already because it was just that amazing. And you know, there were a few things that I didn't love, which typically happens in every book I read, but yes, it made me happy. Number 12 is Most Beautiful Book You've Bought So Far This Year, and I have two that came to the top of my head right away. The first one I have is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and the other book that I'm going to talk about is the collector's edition of The Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I just unboxed this in my book outlet unboxing. I think that this copy was just like, the design process was really well done. This book is heavy, and yeah, and then there's even stuff that is in the inside as well. So I just think that this overall was a really well planned out, and it's really pretty. And finally, number 13 is What Books Do You Need to Read by the End of the Year? And honestly, this is just based off of books that I've meant to get to during the first half of the year that I haven't already. And I have a few of these, so we're just gonna pick them up and go. So, The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi, On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. We have Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I should be getting to this one soon. Also have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schultz. Then we have The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, another one on my TBR for the month. Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. Heirs of Fate by Amara Luciano. The Beautiful by Renee Adia. And then finally, as you can see, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So I already have a lot of books I really want to get to before the end of the year, and that's not even mentioning like the series that I had on my series to read in 2019. I have finished 2 of the series on there, and I think I still have quite a few possibly that I need to get to. Don't think I'm going to end up finishing all of those, but I never know because audiobooks have been a lifesaver, so that might end up happening. That's everything that I have for this video. I guess if you guys have done this, let me know so I can go check out your videos or blogs or whatever it is that you, or wherever it is that you participate in the book community. And if you don't have a platform that you share your opinions on, in the comments down below, let me know 2 things. Let me know what your best book that you've read so far in 2019, and let me know 1 or more of the books that you want to get to before the end of the year. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys in this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more from me, make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys again in the next one. Bye.